If he was a king, he probably would have never left the office the first time. It's violence on both sides. No, it's not, Sean. There is no violence from the right.
They were paid for. They were bought and paid for. You and I talked about before how George Soros, there's real evidence that George Soros is paying for.
I want to hop into a few clips from Sean Hannity with Don Jr. primarily, and then a bonus clip with Ted Cruz at the end. So if you can, take a moment, leave us a like on the video. We're trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, and let's hop right into the breakdown.
So they're resorting to violence. They're doing this when they say in those same talking points I was talking about earlier that it's violence on both sides. No, it's not, Sean. There is no violence from the right. It is not both sides. It is from one side, and it was from the left alone.
That's funny because 7 million people in this country just protested his father's fascism and failed administration in demonstrably peaceful showings. Meanwhile, not even 1% that size of a crowd protested at the Capitol on January 6th who were MAGA and ended up storming the Capitol, beating cops to death and causing millions of dollars in damage. And they were looking to hang Mike Pence, take Democratic Congress members hostage, and successfully delayed the peaceful transfer of power. I mean, just a few months ago, a deranged Trump voter with a hit list of Democrats killed a Democratic lawmaker and her husband for radical anti-abortion reasons, largely because Trump says Democrats do post-birth abortions. This does not exist on the left. They still do not have a Democrat or a Democrat-motivated act of violence on a Republican, however much they scramble to pretend they do. Somebody with a trans partner killing a transphobe isn't Democrat-motivated. A Republican shooting Trump isn't Democrat motivated. Trump, again, shot by a Republican. Charlie Kirk, shot for non-political reasons. He was a giant transphobe. The guy had a trans partner. These things are not hard to quantify.
Someone, by the way, who, if he was a king, probably would just reopen the government, but it hasn't worked that way. If he was a king, he probably would have never left the office the first time. If he was a king, he wouldn't allow his government to prosecute and persecute him.
This is like beyond parody, right? I mean, I know Don Jr. clearly isn't the smartest tool in the shed, but holy shit, like we know for a fact Trump tried to stay in office in 2020. He enlisted fraudulent electors in 7 states to do so, tried to pressure Mike Pence to violate the Constitution and accept them, and sent a mob to the Capitol to pressure him to do so, and then called around pressuring state officials as well as that mob beat cops to death. He is also right now currently selling Trump 2028 hats and constantly joking about staying in office. Also, you realize Trump had 54 pending felony indictments in which he personally is no longer allowing prosecution for solely because he assumed power, not because he was found innocent in any of these, while also hand-waving investigations into his cronies like Tom Homan. Even of the felonies Trump was found guilty of, he didn't get sentenced for solely because he was assuming power again. So it's almost like he's doing exactly what Don Jr. said he would be if he was a king.
I agree with you that these protests, they were not organic. They were paid for. They were bought and paid for. You and I talked about before how George Soros, there's real evidence that George Soros is paying for it. I talked about on my podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz. I laid out the receipts, how Soros's foundation has given over $3 million to Indivisible, one of the key organizers of these protests. I think in many ways they're AstroTurf. However, the warning that I'm announcing, listen, on the left, hatred is a powerful motivator, and there is an energized base on the left who hates Donald Trump, and people who are energized can show up to vote on election day, and I fear sometimes that on the right, people are a little too relaxed, a little too complacent. They feel like, okay, we're winning, things are great, and that can be a dangerous combination. Right now, you look at small donors, Democrats are outraising Republicans online 3-1.
Okay, I just want to be very clear here. There is no evidence because this is just anti-Semitism. Like, oh, the rich Jewish guy must be funding causes that culturally degrade our country. Like, we've heard that before, right? I cannot stand that the actual anti-Semites in our political sphere get to get away with it just by, like, supporting Israel means they can't, like, do this. It's sickening because the attacks on George Soros, Mark Zuckerberg, while being comfortable with the likes of Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, I mean, it's really simple why, right? 2 of them are Jewish and 2 of them aren't. George Soros is a philanthropist. He donates the majority of his income. The conspiracy is apparently proven because one of the many groups who helped do communications for this event got a grant from a foundation in which George Soros funds years ago. So, and by the way, other people also fund this organization. It, again, was years ago, was like a couple $1 million in which they spent for like building, like none of it ties back to this protest in which, again, this was the company in question did part of communications with a bunch of other companies, which is one part of organizing a protest. So like, I mean, but obviously it means that they saved that money and then used it to pay people to come protest. Obviously, that's the logical conclusion, guys.